Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar. My name's Howard. I'm Sage Business Development Manager with DB Computer Solutions. Thanks very much for joining us today. For the past 30 years, DB Computer Solutions has partnered with hundreds of customers across Ireland and beyond. By listening, we apply the most appropriate solutions to help businesses flourish. We've also listened to our customers over the years, and we fully appreciate the challenges that you have to deal with when faced with high volumes of purchase invoices. It's all very time-consuming, right? Introducing SmartOffice Accounts Payable Solution, offering you a smarter way to automate account payable processes, giving your time back to you. With me today is Donna and Paul Martin from SmartOffice. Donna will introduce the Accounts Payable Solution and the benefits of it for your business, while Paul will demonstrate the product and show you the ins and outs of the system itself. Additionally, I'll be speaking with Paul Finucane from Croom Concrete, who's currently using this product, and will share his experience as a user of the actual software. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to pop them into the chat section, and we will answer them at the end of each section. We've muted all participants except for those who are speaking. We've quite a bit to get through, and I want us to be wrapped up on time. So I'll hand you over to Donna now, and I'll have Donna join us in just 1 second.
So we've actually muted all participants except those who are speaking, and we've quite a bit to get through, and I want us to be wrapped up on time, obviously. I'll hand you over to Donna first, and then once Donna's given you the introduction, we'll have a chat with Paul.
Brilliant, thanks Howard, appreciate that. Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Hope you're all well. Donna Maher is my name, so I work for the Cantech Group. I'm the solutions architect for Cantech. I'm the account manager. I look after the Croom Concrete account, along with other key accounts across a diverse portfolio of markets. So look, first of all, big thanks to DB Computers for facilitating the webinar. We have a number of sales channels in Cantech. DB, our technology partner of ours, we work in collaboration with the guys. Our system, our software works parallel with Sage 50 and Sage 200 suite of account packages. So delighted to have Paul Finucane on board today. I know Howard will be speaking to Paul in just a moment, but what I'd like to do is maybe give you kind of just a brief overview of what the system is and what it does. I think visually you'll get a better idea, better insight when Paul Martin shows you the software. So the software is called SmartOffice AP. It's a cloud-based solution. The concept is pretty simple. The purpose is to reduce the cost of processing supplier invoices. Okay, so every company handles invoices, no matter how big or how small you are. The system is very much scalable to cater for any size of company. So there are a lot of benefits, a lot of productivity gains in going down the route of digitizing and automating your AP process. So in terms of the main benefits will be around removing data entry. So normally in terms of when an invoice comes in, it's very paper driven. There's a lot of entering data into Sage. That's where SmartOffice AP comes in. We'll do all the normal coding, the cost center, department coding. The machine learning system is able to read that information off the invoice. So there's a lot of areas that we can drive efficiency on around approval workflow. So if you have multiple people across multiple locations, we can set up different approvals in terms of getting an invoice paid and into Sage. So I suppose, look, the main part here today as well is obviously the guys in DB are Sage House. So what we can do is we can give you a matching and validating facility to match the purchase order and GRN and the stock with your supplier invoice. And that will all be shown throughout the demonstration as well. So just before I hand it back over to Howard, one of the main unique selling points of our system is the customizability of the product. We realize that every company has, I suppose, different ways of doing things. We have the ability to tailor our solution to fit your requirements. Okay, so we'd love to understand your own processes. We'd love to scope out. After this call, we'll be following up with everybody that attended today, we'd like to scope out your requirements. So today is specific to invoicing, to AP, but we do have a wider, I suppose, ecosystem of products. We have a requisition purchase order system available, and on the roadmap as well, we're looking at automating timesheets. So we really are committed to innovation, and obviously we're bringing the guys in DB. They're bringing us along their journey as well. So happy enough to hand it back to you, Howard, if you want to chat with Paul in Croom.
Yeah, I'm going to bring him in here now, so just bear with me for a second. Donna, we'll probably talk to you later on. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Howard.
All right, so yeah, I'm just going to try and bring Paul in here now. We'll have a quick chat. Just bear with me. We should have Paul coming in here now.
Hi, Howard.
Oh, there you are. How are you?
Good now, thanks.
We what you call it? We are just trying to. We had a couple of technical difficulties trying to bring in multiple presenters on this particular webinar, so just apologies in advance here.
No
so
problem.
listen, Paul, you work for Croom Concrete. Could you give us an insight? What do you actually do on a day-to-day basis?
So I'm working with Croom there the last 4.5 years. So basically, I'm the financial controller. So yeah, look, very hands-on role, very varied. You know, doing a lot more than just the accountant, shall we say? You know, but
yes.
That's why, say, a couple of years back when we got this, that's why I was looking into it, because I was trying to free up time to do other stuff. And I think it's done a touch there. Like prior to getting this, it was a lot of very time consuming manual, like data entry, all that kind of stuff. So that's why back there in late 2020, I was looking for something that could, you know, make things a bit more simple in this day and age, really, because there's really not, you know, there's no need to be doing all this kind of data entry these days with all the technology that's out there. So
very good. And tell me this sort of on that day-to-day basis, you know, have you saved time in any way?
Oh God, I've saved, yeah, you know, very busy office here. Like, so in any given month, we could have, you know, 300 documents coming in between purchase invoices, statements, proof of delivery, all those kind of things. And, you know, invoices could come in through many channels, so they weren't necessarily landing on my desk. And then while, you know, the month would go on as normal, when I got to month end, then it was just crazy, because I was getting the statement and, you know, I was missing loads of invoices, or the one-off suppliers would be ringing looking for payment, and I'd be going, sure, I never got the invoice, and they'd say, no, I gave it to X and Y, and I'd be saying, well, look, I didn't get that, you know. So it kind of took away all that kind of unnecessary stuff, you know, those kind of headaches.
And we've spoken before about you know, your statement reconciliation. So maybe talk to us about that a little and how that's helped you.
Yeah, to be honest, initially when we were looking for the software, it was basically to handle all the mass invoices we were getting in, you know, because, you know, as I said, it was 300 invoices plus. It was taking up storage, all those kind of things. Then when I was coming to the month end, you know, I was getting the statements, I was printing them off, and I was, you know, looking at them. As I said, I was missing invoices. But now the statement thing is brilliant. It comes in, it automatically sees that, like, you've received all invoices, and it's a split second, just click the button, reconcile, on you go, you know. So it's taking away all that kind of work. And, you know, we have a lot of suppliers and things like that, so it's not like we're dealing with one or two. We could be dealing with 50 plus suppliers, you know what I mean? So it was very time consuming. So this software really helped us.
And speaking of that kind of supplier relationship, you know, how has that affected, you know, has it helped with regards to meeting your credit terms with suppliers?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, because as I touched on, you know, people will be looking to be paid for that amount, and I'd be going, no, am I showing this in my system? You know, and it was a case going back and going, okay, I'm missing a couple of invoices, but that's eradicated all that now, you know, because you can pick it up on the monthly when the statement comes in. But more so, because we've gone back out to all our suppliers, we've told them, look, when you're sending in invoices, just send it into this sole email address, and then there won't be any problems, you know. So it stops it sending to Paul at Croom Concrete or whoever else at Croom Concrete, just solely into the one portal.
Very good. And so, you know, obviously, you know, with everybody experiencing sort of price increases out there at the moment, I mean, obviously there's a feature there that tracks those kind of increases. Has that helped in any way?
Absolutely, it has. You know, that's another great aspect of it, that it saves everything of the products that you buy, obviously, because it reads your invoices and just stores them there. But yeah, and then obviously, you know, once you put the price match on, you know, you can see when the invoice comes in that, as I said, we buy a lot of products, so it shows straight away that X and Y price has gone up, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Now we can't do much about it, but it's good just to know, like, you know.
Yeah, and how are you finding the sort of holistic view, sort of the invoice reporting and stuff like that?
Great. Look, to date, we haven't had any problems with it. You know, as I said, we initially got it for the invoicing and obviously the statements, and now, you know, we can see that the PO system is quite good. So we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of that now as well, and we're starting to use that more and integrate it. Like, yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. Well, look, we was to get a brief insight into, you know, your business, how it's actually affected it. I mean, but it's obviously made, you know, some great tracks with regards to, you know, sort of saving you an awful lot of time anyway, at least.
Yeah, it definitely has. Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it frees up time then to do other kind of more important kind of things, you know, and kind of takes away all that kind of, you know, time you're spending doing all that work that's not necessary in this day and age, you know.
Very good, very good. Well, listen, I'm just keeping on top of time here, and I know Paul wants to come in and get and show the actual product itself, Paul. So, listen, Paul, I have to say thanks very much for your time and your insight.
No problem, Howard. Really, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Take care. Okay, so we'll just bring in Paul Martin in here now. So just bear with me, and we'll get a demonstration of the actual product. Great to hear the insight there from Paul Finucane from Croom Concrete. Okay, just bear with me, and we'll bring Paul in here now.
Perfect. Hopefully everyone can see my screen there. So this is the central dashboard, the main dashboard of SmartOffice AP. As you can see, it's very simplistic in its approach and pretty self-explanatory. The idea behind the UI and UX design here is that it's a logic-based software, which means that when we or any end user has visibility here, they pretty much know where they need to go. It's not about drop-down levels or sub-menus. It's a tile-based system that mirrors the current AP process that teams are experiencing. Just to give a bit of background technical data for SmartOffice AP, it's built on the Microsoft Azure platform. The central EU data center is in Grange Castle in Dublin, which means that gives us 256-bit encryption and full high-level DPO priorities. And basically what that means is that your information and the stability of the system itself is very, very secure. Also what that means, Donna mentioned it earlier, it's a cloud-based system. As you can see here, I'm in my web browser, nothing downloaded, no infrastructure or server required. All I need is an internet connection. And what that means for your teams is that obviously the last number of years have pushed the remote agenda on, the digitization on, and your employees are looking for different ways to work. That presents a challenge when you're working off paper or even email threads in certain cases. So as Donna mentioned at the top of the call, SmartOffice is designed to be a single source of truth around the invoice process. But not only that, we've mentioned other pieces. The SmartOffice technology, the AI brain and the machine learning brain, is actually a platform. So you'll see a little bit more when I go into these tiles. But essentially, as it stands at the moment, SmartOffice is a 5-in-1 platform. So we have the beginning of the process, which Donna mentioned, which is the purchase requisition and PO functionality. And I'll be showing a little bit about that in a minute. We have the supplier invoice processing, which is the core of the system. But other than that, we also have expense management, debit note generation and audit trail, and also timesheet functionality. And the idea is that with a single platform, the information that are coming into your accounts and administration teams all land in a central approval tile in a tabular format based on user-based permissions. So basically what that means is when I log in, I'll only see what's relevant for me, and whether that's across expenses, invoices, timesheets, I will see what's in my workflow for that day. So what we want is that single source, that information flow, an easy to use interface to understand, make decisions and approve it on. And I'll show you how that functionality is done in a minute. The way we want primarily want invoices in, or credit notes, or statements, or expense claims is through digital document submission. So that means an email address. And what we do is we set up a custom email address for each client. In Brendan's case, who's on the call here with us, it will be huntoffice@smartofficeap.com. And that becomes your supplier email address for submitting their invoices, credit notes, and supplier statements at the end of the month. Once that happens, our brain takes over, extracts the information out of the PDF or whatever document type is coming in, and that's where we kick off that custom extraction and approval workflow. Having said that, and I'm sure Brendan will verify this later, no matter how progressive you are, there are still paper flowing around in lots and lots of businesses. So we have whatever way that your invoices or your information comes in, whether it's on paper, whether it's on portal on PDF download, whether it's forwarding rules from your existing accounts team, we can handle that all. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. For the next number of minutes, guys, I'm just going to go through each of these tiles and what they mean and how they work. As Donna mentioned at the start, we're conscious of everyone's time here today, so I won't go drill down too deeply into any one of them, but we'd encourage everyone to get in contact with us afterwards with our individual use cases or bottlenecks, and we can show just how flexible the system will be. So the way I explain the product is broken down into 3 sections. The top functionality is administration and back office. Middle is the day-to-day workflow. This is what accounts teams up and down the country and further afield are experiencing every day. And the bottom section is basically the bookends, the start of the process and the end of the process in a monthly or quarterly cycle. So into the first piece here, search and reporting. One of the biggest challenges at the moment is paper, volumes, and search and retrieval thereafter. So our AI brain immediately, once it extracts the information from the document, it automatically cuts it up into all of these index fields. And that's without touching a button, that's without doing anything. So you'll see here, you have really, really powerful search tools, right down to the granular level of supplier detail, nominal ledger, cost centers, departments, document type, invoice number, PO number, date range, and anything else you can think of that would be financially relevant. We even have it right down to the level of character search. And basically what that means is if you know absolutely nothing else about the invoice that you're trying to retrieve, you can just type in one of these boxes here, common search or an item search, and hitting the search button, we will show you within a few seconds all of the relevant invoices or credit notes or statements down here with that reference on it. So it's a really powerful extraction tool, search and reporting, and because after the fact, once they go through the process, if you're looking at audit or queries or whatever it might be in the future, that takes up a lot of time and effort as well. Standard default with the system is the 7 years revenue compliance that we'll store all your documents in here for. Now that can be extended if there's an industry need, and it's completely unlimited. So there's no extra charge, and it's unlimited storage and unlimited users. So no matter how many people, departments or volumes are involved with the process, it'll all be relevant here. You get the drop-down menu here, broken down by supplier, total value, and then broken down by individual invoice, reference number, and top line header detail here as well. I'll pop on to the next one quickly, guys. Second tile here is the drag and drop functionality, and pretty self-explanatory again. These are for the invoices, credit notes, or statements that fall outside the normal process. So if they're not being submitted by email directly, you have it by paper or you have it in a bulk PDF upload, drag and drop in here, send for processing, and the same items happen. And that can be 20, 30, 40 at a time. Doesn't matter to us. We can also set up workflows off your scan or multifunction device capabilities that you can drop them into the top tray, 50, 60, 70 at a time, and hit one button, and it'll end up for processing in the SmartOffice system as well. That can be done from a central location, multiple locations, or indeed globally. Doesn't matter to us. Third tile up here, guys, is report functionality. So on your systems, your ERPs, your accounting packages, you probably have a decent amount of drill down data and management reporting systems. But what they probably don't have is information about the AP process itself. So what we have here, these are some default reports that we sent up. You can monitor budgets, you can monitor spends, which are obviously the financial data, but quite importantly, you can look at the time for invoice processing and who it lies with. So you'll see here, we have invoice and credit notes, purchase orders, supporting documentation. That could be expenses, timesheets, debit notes, etc. And then by the users on the system, I can select the employee review that I'd like to look at, see what's outstanding with them. I can see the date that it was submitted at. So I can automatically get a report struck up about time to pay, time to pass, etc. But an important feature in bottlenecks as well is the transfer of responsibility. So if Paul Martin takes another sick day, if I'm on annual leave, if I'm struck down with COVID, unfortunately, which is the thing at the moment, or whatever it might be, I can transfer the responsibility as Paul Martin's manager to whoever it might be that needs to look at this to get a process. Now, this is on a one-for-one basis, but in the back end of the system as well, that can be done on a larger scale. I'll pop out here, guys. Tile on the right-hand side wasn't just that we were filling space. The way I describe this to customers is it's like teletext. So this is an audit trail and timestamp of everything that's happening in the system at the time. So a ledger of everything that Paul Martin did, at what time and date, and a link to the document as well. So you'll see a scrolling piece of information around approvals, on hold, rejections, or whatever it might be directly here. Okay, guys, I'm going to pop into the middle section of the process, and this really is where the most of the time is spent. This is where the AP team do their work, and it mirrors what they're charged with every day. First two tiles are pretty infrequent, we hope, but I'll dip briefly in them so that you get an understanding of the power of the software and how it does what it does. But the main areas that everyone is spending their time in any AP team, and not just their system, is the approval, review, and delivery confirmation, or GRN. And we'll spend a bit of time on those in a second. So new documents. Part of the SmartOffice onboarding service is that it's turnkey. So we set up absolutely everything. And what that means is we integrate into your current ERP or accounting software, or that might be one, or it might be multiple. You might have an accounting system and a PO system completely separate, but we have the ability to integrate into them through multiple different areas. Currently, we integrate with about 41 of the most common accounting and ERP softwares and purchase order pieces. But because we have multiple integration methods, open APIs, etc., there are few, if any, that we can't collaborate with if it has the functionality to ingest or export information. What I was referencing the new documents is because the first time a new supplier is set up on your system, after the fact that you've been on SmartOffice for a while, the first time we receive a supplier invoice from that new supplier, it'll arrive in new documents. And the reason I show this on the demo is to show the power of the system and also how we do what we do. So here's an example of a new supplier set up, and they've sent a number of invoice infos here. So we have them down this way. And once these are all new invoices from this new supplier, and you get the top line header detail that's already after happening. And by one touch of a button, our AI brain extracts all the key information off the invoice. So again, this is powered by processing millions of invoices over the last number of years. And the AI brain and machine learning brain know exactly what we're looking for. So the first time that we receive an invoice, this is what will look like. And you'll see here we're after capturing, it's an invoice type, this is who it's from, this is the delivery address, invoice number, date, purchase order number, quantity, part code, and VAT summary. And on the right hand side, all you have to do as a user is a little questionnaire, just to make sure that we've got it correct. How do we know it's from Links and Lines? Well, we're after capturing it. And we can actually do logo recognition, VAT number recognition, or text recognition. So in this case, I'm just going to change and draw around the box. And you see here, we've captured Links and Lines. You'll see here, we've auto-coded the invoice number, the date, the PO, and a routing field, and I'll explain that in a little bit more in detail. We've captured all of the invoice table data, all of the VAT data, and you're on to supplier rules. Again, this is customizable per your workflow, depending on what your requirement is. Whatever approval matrix that you use, whether it's as simplistic or as complex as you want, it's catered for in here. We process nominal ledger invoices, PO invoices, or both. So whatever way that it's coming in and whatever reference method you use, there's no problem. And we also deal with multiple VAT codes on the one invoice as well. So as you can see, once we've set up the system on your preferences, we do all the heavy lifting via the AI brain. First time we ever see an invoice, we'll ask for confirmation. And once that's done, it'll never be asked again. That supplier is now set up on your system. Again, I'm going to pop back out here into alerts. And as I mentioned, we hope that this is infrequent, but that's not really down to us. And it's not actually down to you as the client or user. It's more down to your suppliers. So common AP problems in everyone's flow, including our own, is duplicate invoices, incorrect calculations, incorrect VAT. Our system with the brain will automatically catch those from the point of submission. When your supplier sends in their invoice, it'll go up into the brain, we'll validate it, make sure that everything is correct. And if we find or suspect that there may be an error, we'll put it into alerts and notify someone. You'll see here, we've caught an invoice here, and we suspect the date range is a little unusual here. And we also suspect that this is a duplicate. In here, you can dive a little bit deeper. We'll see the invoice that came in, all of the data that we captured out of it, and then you'll see here we're highlighting the errors. Very simple people here in SmartOffice with color coding. Orange means that we assume something is a little bit strange and we think you should have a look at it. In this case, it's the document date. We're in 2022, we're getting an invoice from 2019. That's either an error from the supplier or it's possibly an attempted invoice fraud. So we're highlighting that and you can decide what to do with it. Red means something is fundamentally wrong, and we suggest that this needs to be actioned immediately. You'll see here, we're saying that this is a duplicate. We've already submitted this to your accounts package. It's already gone through the process, and we'll actually link you to that invoice that was previously approved. You'll see the invoice, you'll see all of the audit trail and actions, and you'll be able to make a decision on that invoice and alert at the time. Up here are communication tools, but I'll go in depth into them in a second in the approval. It's the same process here as the alerts, but not only are we doing AI capture technology and automation technology, but it's also a direct communication tools with all your suppliers and all the stakeholders in your business. Anyways, popping back out here, as I said, approval, review, and confirmation. These are the core. This is where it takes the time. So as I already said, SmartOffice integrates with your existing ERP or accountancy package and your process. So we have the ability to do three-way matching. And what that means is pulling in the PO or the GRN that's created at site, storing them in the brain, and when the invoice comes in, setting about a process of validating that. And I'll speak about that and give an example of that in a second. But what you'll see here on the approval screen, and this is quite important here, guys, is tabular format here. So this is based on my user rules, and I can only see what's been assigned or relevant to me. Invoices and credit notes will appear in one tab, purchase orders or purchase requisitions in another tab, expenses, timesheets, debit note requests, whatever it might be. Again, when I log in the morning, I will see what's in my workflow for the day. You'll have a breakdown here by supplier, total value that needs to be done, and then individual breakdowns of the invoices here. And I'll give you some information here about all of these icons as well in a second. But I just want to show for the moment an example of the three-way matching. You'll see here we can filter by date range and loads of different index data here. Very, very simple. We can do it by matched or error with a variance or not. If it's on hold, it's a multi-currency system as well, that you can set existing exchange rates directly on, and I can do a PO date range as well. But I'm going to give an example here. And as I said, we're pretty simple people here in SmartOffice. Green is good, red is bad. When an invoice comes in, we find the PO or the GRN associated with that, and it doesn't match or there's a variance, we'll notify someone. It'll appear red, and you'll be able to see here that this requires further investigation, and you can choose your action, which I'll show you here now in a second. But assuming all is good, I'll give you an example of what it looks like and how easy the system is for decision making. So invoice arrives in, we find the PO or the GRN associated with it, and we do all of our fancy AI stuff. This is how the invoice came in. As you can see, it's a horrible looking invoice, but it's a one pager, and we can apply our brain to that. Now, that could be 5, 10, 20 pages, and we'll do the same. We'll do the extraction, and then we do a thing called universal view. So what we do is we present all of the decision-making data up here, extracted to the top, alongside the PO and validation data on the right-hand side. So you'll see here, this invoice came in like this, VAT content at the bottom as per usual, invoice details here are references, and then a table of data. You'll see here, we've pulled all of the VAT detail up, all of the key data, and then we've got your table data here. On the right-hand side, we're showing you there's a GRN for this invoice. Is there a variance or not? VAT content, and does it match the invoice? On this panel here, we're actually showing you the purchase orders and GRNs created associated with this. So you'll see here, with one click of a button, I'll be able to see that this PO, that this GRN was created against this PO. This is the physical data that was booked in. I can edit or unassign or split that out if I want to. And most importantly, you'll see here I have a PO number of 20602. And for context, and again, decision making, we've got multiple deliveries against that one PO. And the PO stays open until the invoice data or the delivery data is complete against it. You'll see here, I have multiple GRNs that I can view. I can see any other variances, issues, quantity, all in a line-by-line data. You'll see up here, I can search for an additional PO if the customer had referenced two PO numbers here, or if indeed they got it wrong and this invoice was split over two POs, I can type in here. So again, on the approval screen, I have all of the decision-making data at my fingertips, all digitized, no need to worry about signatories, paper trails, matching, bins, email threads, it's all here. Up on the top is the communication tool. So assuming that this is absolutely fine, it's approved. Now that can be set to auto approve if it matched, but for the purposes of the demo here, I've got the approval scenario. We're saying that it was a variance or incorrect data, I can actually reject this invoice directly from the system as well. It'll go directly to the supplier that has sent it in. In this case, it's obviously SmartOffice for the demo site. It'll CC the user that's logged in, and I'm able to type my message here. Once I hit reject, that'll auto-generate a rejection notice to the supplier, in this case, Stephen's Motor Service, attaching the invoice, the rejection notice, and why it was rejected directly back to the supplier. That then removes it out of your workflow and takes it out of the approval process. Even still, we still retain this rejected document in the search and retrieval tools, just in case there are any more queries after the fact. It might land with the wrong person. Paul Martin knows nothing about this, and it's above his pay grade, or he doesn't know why there's a variance, so I'm going to put it on hold. And when I put it on hold, I have the option of notifying the supplier that's on hold, so they not to expect payment, or I can put it on internal hold because I need to get more information from my colleagues. And that leads us on to the next point here, which is forward documentation. So you'll see here, I have an internal or external option here, and this might be notifying someone else in the business that I need approval on this. The reason for the value might be too much for my approval level here as a budget holder, and I'm going to forward that to Adrian. And what that does is it notifies Adrian, puts it in his approval workflow, and takes it out of mine. Okay, guys, I'm going to pop back out. So that's an example of a PO or GRN-led validation piece, variances, and we can also push variances on tolerance limits. So if you say that a certain percentage is absolutely fine, or you want to capture all variances in a particular nominal when you push it into your accounts, we have the functionality to do that as well. For the ones that fall out of the process of PO or GRN, so that might be utilities or energy or service, we also can do auto nominal ledger coding. So we can do that by default nominal if the supplier only has one nominal, or it could be driven by any other custom route. So it might be based on delivery address. It might be based on a value, a product type, a PO number, or whatever it might be. And you'll see here we can multi-code and split out into multiple nominal ledgers directly from the invoice. You'll see here we have a good sample of food costs. You'll see if there are any notes of variance on it. And you'll see something over here, which is a little symbol. A proprietary technology that we have built into the system, which is very, very powerful, is a feature called Price Watch. And what we do here, the brain, because it captures absolutely everything on the system, also captures every single part code and product individually. And what we will give you when you have multiple invoices coming in for the same product over time is price information and ledger. So we actually capture and notify you whether a price has gone up, down, left or right, link you to the product, link you to the last time it was purchased, and give you full analysis on the movement of your supplier cost. Obviously, especially in the most recent times with inflation, etc., these are very, very important to manage your core costs. And we can set up notifications on these as well if it's over a certain value or certain percentage that it requires review or approval or to be pushed back to the supplier. Okay, guys, so that's a summary on the approval. There's obviously a lot more in that, and every business has their own complexity and approval matrix and values and chain. And that's what the power of SmartOffice is. We can mimic or enhance your approval process, and it can be all customized directly in this tile for a single approval. The review tile, very briefly to go into, guys, is, pardon me, a very powerful feature that's used for generally upper level management, and that is for cutting off or segueing off invoices that arrive in, not necessarily to do with the approval process. It might be to do with value of the invoice, a particular supplier, or suppliers that give you early payment discounts that you want to be notified when they arrive in. The screen looks the exact same as the approval, but it serves a different purpose within the business. Confirmed delivery, guys. Last piece that I'll speak on here is, again, one of the most important things in business is checking whether you've actually received. Just because the invoice matches the PO and the pricing is correct doesn't mean that you've actually got the stock. And when you've got multiple locations, that can become quite difficult. So built into the system is, again, via AI, is an automatic trigger. If you're not using GRNs, when the invoice comes in, we can read the delivery address, we can read the PO creator or even PO logic on it. A trigger that's on that invoice that tells us we need to send this off to the Cork store, the manager in the Cork store, to approve and confirm that they have received this document. And we do that automatically and simultaneously with the AP process. You'll see here, we'll present the invoice came in a fashion that they can either do it individually. Yes, we received 3 of those, not the invoiced 4, or I can line complete directly here, or indeed I can one click of a button go directly and do the whole lot of those. And once that's done, that notification goes back to the AP team to say that this store or this person or this business division has confirmed delivery of this and it can be proceeded. Last functionality, guys, on this tile very quickly is the upload function. After we do all the magic here and validation and extraction, it's then about pushing it to your accounts team, or sorry, your accounts package, with one touch of a button. So this could be 100 or 1,000 invoices at any one time. It doesn't matter to us, and it can be as manual or as automated as you want. Depending on your integration, your accounts package, you can do it upload via CSV, XML, or directly via AP. But here we have a final check. These are all of the approved invoices. You get top line data and an upload button. That can be set to do manual if there's a final check you want to operate, or it can be done on a timed automated basis. For instance, once a day, once a week, once a month, whatever it might be. Last 2 things, guys, then, and I promise I'll let you back to Donna and Brendan, but very powerful features, statement reconciliation and purchase order. So statement reconciliation, guys, is a pain. At the end of every month, after doing all that hard work that we're after verifying there, someone sends in a statement saying you owe them 100,000 and here are the 100 invoices associated with that. It's then some poor soul's job to validate that, find the invoices, make sure that they've been approved for payment, that stock has been received, etc. That just takes hours, days, weeks in some industries. So we've come up with a solution for that as well. Same thing, supplier submits their supplier statement through the same method. We extract all the data out of the supplier statement, and we automatically find all of the invoices. We validate them to ensure that you fully have them. We match date, invoice number and value against date, invoice number and value. But most importantly, we'll tell you what stage they're in. Are they uploaded, ready to upload, on hold, rejected, awaiting approval, etc. And what we'll give you very, very quickly is your payment value and your accrual value directly for your accounts package. If there was an item that was missing out of here, and we would also highlight that immediately, it would flag up as 0, and you'd have a button that would request information back to the supplier. And once one touch of a button will auto-generate an email back saying on statement number 1234, invoice number 729351 is missing, and we'll give that supplier an upload link for them to upload this invoice for approval, or upload an amended statement, which will supersede this one here and remove that line item. This literally saves days. This is your final review, and this is what we're doing the AP process in total for, is to pay suppliers in a timely manner, but also the correct amount. And this is the final summary. Purchase orders, guys. Again, as I said, there's a 5-in-1 module base here. AP is what we focused on for today's topic and webinar. There'll be future ones around expenses, PO rec in particular. But built into our system, a module you can activate is the requisition module. And that is about understanding and automating the PO process. So you might have construction sites, multiple stores, multiple people, divisions, budgets and allocations, and they're all requesting to purchase items against a budget holder, a departmental holder. Directly in our system here, you'll have that fully broken down by supplier type, templated responses and requisitions for OPEX, CAPEX, standard template, product, inventory, all of those templates are available here, and a very, very simple interface for unlimited users to use, request and purchase. And we also allow qualifying questions to be put against the PO process and supporting documentations like 3 quotes or spec that was provided by supplier, whatever it might be. And again, it's all driving towards the single source. When you go into your search and reporting at a later date, everything that you need on decision-making, validation, reports, auditing are all based here. So on that note, guys, Donna could verify, I could go on for hours and all of this, and we're still only scratching the top of the surface.
Yeah.
I'll hand you back to the guys there for the piece.
Brilliant,
Okay,
Paul.
guys?
Lovely stuff. That was pretty comprehensive, Paul. Thanks for that. And it's hard to condense it all into that amount of time. So we will reach out to people to go over an in-depth workflow with them.
Okay, guys, at that point, thanks for listening to me.
Thanks very much for that, Paul. Now, just as Paul mentioned earlier on, you know, for anybody who's looking for something a bit more personal, or they need a one-to-one to go through some of the specific details Paul's actually gone through there, please contact us. You can contact me at howard.murphy@dbcomp.ie, and we'd be happy to sort of give you a more personalized view of the actual demonstration itself. Thanks again, Paul. So let's have a quick look through the chat just before we finish up this afternoon, just to sort of answer any questions that may have arisen here. So the first thing here I can see is that people are asking here, is it strictly only Sage that the system works with, Paul?
No, obviously the focus here is with DB Computers as the main Sage partner, but no, we have approximately 45 active integrations with various accounts platforms, ERPs, and third-party PO apps as well. So not to bore you any further than I already have, so I won't list all of them now, but if anyone's interested, then they can reach out to DB and we can provide.
Gotcha. Okay, and just some other questions that I'd had, you know, a lot of common ones that, you know, we actually got from other people that we've actually introduced the software to. So, you know, for instance, is there, you know, a minimum number of invoices per month in order to make it cost effective, for instance?
Not necessarily. So the way I can see actually a question in the chat as well from Ken about how much is the software. DB can provide that, but just to see how we actually provide. So the system is designed to be no barriers to entry. Okay, so flexible from 50, 60, 100 invoices a month, all the way up to people on our platform that will be processing in tens of thousands. And it's priced as such. And we're confident that once you understand the workflow and you're looking to achieve in the software, that you see ROI month 1, month 2. That's the way it's been designed. And it's to give your individuals, or if it's yourself, if it's a sole trader, 70 to 80% back of their time to focus on key stuff. And that really is, automation isn't going to solve the world, and technology isn't going to solve the world, but it can take out a large portion of people's mundane day-to-day stuff, let them focus on key business activities.
Okay, and another question there is, you know, are the invoices actually stored on the client server, or are they stored on yours?
No, so as I mentioned in the demo, so it's all stored on the Microsoft Azure platform for us, and so there's no obligation on the client to pay storage or costs or have some other storage facility there. We keep them for the revenue compliance 7-year by default, and it'll always be available there for them. It's also able to extract by PDF directly off it if they want to download, And if there is a particular industry need where you need to keep them for 10, 15, 20 years, you just let us know a configuration and we change the retention policy as such.
Okay, and what's the failover kind of process for the setup?
Yeah, so in terms of the security, the Azure platform, we're all familiar with Microsoft cloud services. So our primary site in Dublin and 3 multiple failover sites spread throughout the EU. So that means it's the highest terms of data protection, data security, and failover that is available from the Microsoft platform. And not to tempt fate, we kind of need the entire continent to sync before we lost our data. But with the way things are now in wartime, and who knows, but it would be a highly unlikely situation.
All right, and of course, one of the most important things is, how long does it take to onboard to bring the system into play?
Yeah, it's very quick, really, in all honesty. Obviously, the main part of any scoping exercise, discovery, and even onboarding is understanding the client's requirements. Quite often, when we get into this scenario, clients themselves analyze what they are doing, would like to do, and look for efficiencies. So we spend a lot of time with the client there, and that is the most important thing, the people, the users. The actual technology to set up, you're looking from the point of kickoff to go live, which is all of our configuration technically and integration, and all of the user training. You're looking at between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on the complexity.
Right. Okay. And it, can it be complex? I mean,
I suppose when I say complexity, it's more to do with the client's workflows. So what they'd like to achieve out of the power of the system. So we can be as hands-off in terms of capture, approval, and off it goes to Sage, or we can get down to multi-line level approval, line-by-line analysis, and we can get into splitting non-ledger codes based on product triggers or location triggers. So there are a lot of complexities in the finance flow in particular, and obviously that is key to get right, because it's key to understand it, how the customer would like to deal with it, and that generally will add the extra week or 2 because it's worth it. That is the time to understand the workflow and to get the system in place to handle it.
Very good. Okay. I think if anybody else has any further queries, we'll just we'll leave it open for the moment for anyone to sort of enter in any questions. For some sites might be quite specific as well. I mean, how does the software cope with sort of unusual kind of circumstances?
With the greatest respect to everyone on the call, and including my own business, we all think we're unusual. Okay, but it's funny how many times you see the same type of thinking and workflows. You're right, even people in the same industry, competitors or collaborators, where you may think there will be a similar workflow, it's more down to the individual. So we put a lot of time and effort into the development of the software to allow for these little niches, changes, nuances, etc. So it handles it very, very well, not to be sticking our chest out too much, but we think we're the best in the business at getting to that level of customization and getting to exactly what the client wants.
Yeah, well, with our experience with you, we've seen your flexibility there as well. So just to touch on a little point with as far as DB are concerned, I mean, we are basically custom made for handling businesses that start off at a very small level and can expand and grow, at a quick rate or over time. So we implement solutions with regards to Sage 50 and Sage 200 and all the modules that fit in around it, and pretty much most of Sage's portfolio. So the customers that we've integrated directly with SmartOffice can vary right across the board, from Sage 50 style sites up to Sage 200. And the solution, has been very accommodating for everybody that we've actually put it in for. So, we're once again, for anybody who's looking to talk to us one-to-one, go through the specifics of what they actually require. Very happy to do that. We'll have the video sent out to you as soon as possible so you can take a look over what Paul has actually provided there today, maybe take a look at or have another listen to what Paul has said in Croom Concrete with regards to what the solutions actually provided for them. And we've no further questions coming in here at the moment, so I think we're actually going to finish up at a tidy time of about 15 minutes here. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank everybody who's jumped on board, Donna and Paul from SmartOffice, and in particular Paul Finucane from Croom Concrete for his time today and to give us his very valuable insight. And very big thanks for Natalie Cook in helping set the actual webinar up here today. So